Hey Journey, hope you're doing really well. Thanks for checking out this video. Wanted to take a few minutes and catch you up a little bit on some of what's happened at Journey and what's coming in the days ahead. As you know, for us at Journey, a big piece of the puzzle is, hey, as we're on this way to helping as many people as possible live in a life-giving relationship with Jesus, and what that looks like for us, part of the way we feel called to live that out, to take the gospel to as many people as possible, is through this vision of 5 and 10, launching 5 life-giving locations and expressions of the church by 2027. One of those was Middleville, which many of you are a part of, and we love it and are incredibly grateful for you and the difference and impact you're having in Middleville and surrounding communities. But we've said, hey, what's next? What does that look like going forward? And about a year ago now, ended up in some conversations with Caleb. Really, we were talking about something else that we didn't even end up doing. But in the middle of those conversations said, hey, wait a second. There just seems to be some chemistry and connection here. Could we talk to Caleb about coming to be a part of Journey with the simple goal of saying, at the end of the day, we know in a couple years, we're gonna launch him out to start an expression of the church. And we're really excited about that. And so we are about a year away right now from hopefully that happening. And what I want to do is just take a couple minutes and let you hear some from Caleb. We're just going to have a little bit of a conversation around this idea of, hey, what does that even look like? Because the vision, the dream that God has stirred in Caleb looks very different than how we do church at Journey. And so we're going to spend a couple minutes. I think it'll be really helpful to you. To many of you, probably be inspiring. You'll hear like, oh my word, this could be. And I hope that that's what it is, encouraging or inspiring to you today. And then before we're done, we'll talk a little bit about, hey, these are some things going forward that maybe you could consider in ways one day you might have a chance to be a part of all of this. So Caleb, other than being much younger and better looking and smarter than me, you also, you have a very fresh vision for the church and what the church can be, how the church can function and making a difference in the world around us. Give us like an overview of that. Just for people who haven't had a chance to hear that yet, give us an overview of how you view the church and what you feel like God's stirring you to do.
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in the church, the local church, the body of church, and so a lot of my history of church is kind of within the 4 walls of a building, and it's in a rhythm of, hey, we'd love for you to come on a Sunday morning, we'd love for you to get plugged into a small group, we'd love for you to serve and be active. And I think when I went to college, I began to experience the church like in deeper ways outside the walls of the church. It began to become much more about small groups and communities and actively living life with other believers and other people who are trying to discover God together. And in that, I felt like we were touching on something that maybe was being missed or just wasn't being able to be accessed as deeply in some other spaces. And so over the last kind of 18 months before we got here to Journey and now here during my time at Journey, I've really found this, just passion for how do we take the church outside the walls of the church? How do we reach people who both are believers in Jesus and who aren't believers in Jesus, but are on this journey of discovering God and truth and a higher power and whatever people might believe? And how do we create spaces for both of those people to encounter Jesus together? To have a space where they are meeting the very real person of Jesus in totally unassuming spaces, in open and honest spaces of just vulnerability and self-discovery, and but where there is just strong, solid biblical study happening. And how do we create more avenues for that? And through that process, we've come to what we're calling Synergy Co. Co is just short for collective. And so a collective is really, in essence, a micro church. It's the simplest version of what church is meant to be through scripture and all throughout history, where there kind of are these 3 core aspects of community, worship, and mission. And creating spaces where those atmospheres aren't just for the Christian or aren't just for the believer, but really go beyond that to say, how do we have conversation, and begin to deeply do life with people
Yeah.
that we're already engaged with. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you know, all of us are already engaged with people in our lives who we would say, oh yes, some are believers, some aren't. And creating space where that community of people is actively living out their discovery of Jesus together.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I think, Caleb, I think you might even say, if something that looked like a micro church was only believers, it's probably not a micro church.
Right.
There's this element where
There might be community and worship,
yeah,
but there's not mission.
it's not mission. Yeah, yeah, it's really good. And part of what I love about this is it would be easy for us as Journey to say, wait a second, you need to do it our way and the way we're doing it. But here's the reality. While you and I, as part of Journey, get to be a part of reaching a lot of people, I've met another gal just a couple of days ago, new to Journey, who's very new in exploring what does this thing look like with Jesus? Who is Jesus? How do I follow Jesus? How does this all impact my life? And that's great, and I love those stories, and we're going to continue to reach people. But there's a group of people in the world who aren't going to come to Journey. They're not going to come to a place that looks like Journey. And so instead of saying to a Caleb, hey, you got to do it our way, what we want to say is, no, man, let's look at multiple ways where we get to reach the most people. And so I love that this is a new and it's a different idea. Tell us where you're at right now. I mean, you and Allie are trying to engage in things. So tell us a little bit right now what today's version of Synergy Co looks like for Caleb and Allie.
Yeah, so kind of even what you just hit on, a lot of what we're trying to actively do right now is go after people that might never step foot inside the traditional model of church. There's so many people who will, and it's deeply impacting those people. But there's some people who that's never gonna be their touch point to Jesus. And so we're like, how do we create more touch points outside the walls of that strategy, of that model, to reach people? And honestly, we view kind of the most pivotal place is a dinner table. Now, it could be a fishing boat. It could be the gym at 6:30 every Tuesday morning. It could be a basketball court. It could be a cooking class. It could be whatever it is. But for Allie and I, and what we are going to begin launching out, it's our home. It's the people that we're inviting to sit around a table who know us. They know we love Jesus regardless of whether they do or not. And we know them. We know kind of where they're coming from. We know part of their story. We know where they're at in their pursuit of God. And really what we want to do is just say, hey, let's all come together as a community. Let's have a long, just open dinner time, like where we're just going to have a meal. We're just going to talk, hang out, enjoy each other's company. And then following that, let's open up Scripture and allow Scripture to teach us, allow Scripture to engage conversation, to lead in discussion, to ask questions of what is this teaching us about God? What is this revealing to us about humanity, about human nature? And then, hey, what are we going to do with it? How are we actually going to apply whatever it is we're talking about to our lives? And you're going to have these conversations where you're going to have viewpoints from non-believers who will open eyes of believers to even realize, oh, wow, I didn't really think that I treated people that way, but I do kind of sometimes have prejudgments already. Or you're going to have believers share, revelation about Scripture that non-believers are going to be like, whoa, I've never thought about it that way, or I've never read it that way, or I've always heard of it as like this anger type, you're going to have some of those things. So Allie and I are actually starting our first collective next Friday. And we're super excited. We've already begun to have invitations to both believers who are our friends, who are our people, and non-believers. We just had a conversation with a couple friend of ours who really we've been investing in since we moved in. They live in close proximity to us, and they were like, that's a really cool idea. They're not believers. They would hear me say this on the video and be like, you're right. Like we don't claim that, but they absolutely would love to have spiritual conversations and discover what really is truth. And so we're super excited about that next Friday. And that's what it's going to look like. We're going to have dinner. We're going to hang out. We're going to play games. We're going to laugh. We're going to open up the Bible. We're going to talk about it, dig into it. And these are people that we do life with all throughout the week. So it's not just like, hey, once a week I'm seeing these people and then I'll see you next Friday. It's, hey, I'm seeing you as our dogs play together, or as you know, me and my buddy play ultimate frisbee together, or Allie sees a coworker at work, you know. So there's this active engagement all the time that we're just saying, hey, let's do life together in community, and let's focus on encountering Jesus and what that means for our lives.
Yeah, I love it. So good. It's so good. And part of what I hope you hear in there is that part of what Caleb and Allie are doing is just building relationships, and along the way they're sensing the Lord say to some of them, hey, this is a person I brought you here for. This is a couple I brought you here for. And they're just engaging in those relationships because they love people. And this is where it starts, right? This is how the gospel moves. It's through people, and it's through these relationships. And so want to give you like a quick glimpse into some of this, let you see it from a broader view. We haven't had a chance to share a lot of that yet, and so wanted to share that with you. I'll say this, there's more coming. There are some very soon coming next steps that they're also going to be taking, but we'll share that soon. I just want to invite you to be prayerful about a couple things. One, just pray for Caleb and Allie as they start their initial collective, and be prayerful for the people who will be in that group, many of whom we will never meet, but we can be prayerful. And just begin even now to pray, hey, as I hear more about this, is there any part of this the Lord's going to invite me to be a part of? Is there anything about this that over the next 12 months the Lord's going to stir in my heart to be a part of this as we spend this next year getting fully ready to launch Caleb and Allie in Synergy Co. So more to come on that, and then also more to come. There's one other fresh expression that's in the development stage as well. And so we got some exciting days ahead as we get ready to launch a couple expressions of the church and on this 5 and 10 vision. So I love you, church. More to come in the days ahead. These are exciting times. We'll see you soon.